Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to take a look at the top 10 industry news stories of the week. To help us do that is Katrina Glogowski. She is an angel investor and attorney in Seattle. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning. All right, story number one is legal weed is here. Beer sales decline as Canadians opt for legal cannabis. It's something that we've seen in every single state where it seems like opioids, prescription pills and alcohol sales decrease in all regulated states. So a legal country like Canada kind of makes sense. So they're asking the question if there's a correlation between the rise in cannabis sales and a weakening beer sales. I say yes. New data shows that Canadians are drinking less beer and consuming more marijuana following adult use cannabis legalization. Recent decline in booze sales has led to several large alcohol cannabis partnerships with top 3 Canadian pot stocks joining forces with the makers of Corona, Molson, and Budweiser.
Absolutely, Josh. In the state of Washington, alcohol sales dropped 25% following legalization.
Yeah, on trend, right? Every single regulated market is seeing the same thing. So number 9 on the top 10 news stories of the week is there's some Canadian cannabis infused drinks. So products are finally being shipped to retail stores in December, should be landing on store shelves in Canada soon. So this is with Canada's new 2.0, the rules that were going into effect. So that allows a lot of derivatives like drinks that can use cannabis to mimic the sensations we're all familiar with. And so looking at some of the new lineup of infused beverages about to hit the market from Canopy Growth, Tilray, Hexo, Green Organic Dutchman, and so on is going to offer a lot more opportunities, a lot more sales. But having just gone up there, you and I were there for the Lift Expo, and prices are not cheap. So a mutual friend of ours, Jason Lammers, a 420 wholesale pack, went into a store and came out empty-handed, said, "Nah, it's not worth it."
Cannabis infused beverages, be it alcoholic beverages, be it sodas, be it water, they still need some work on the formulations and the price point. I'm not going to pay $50 for a soda. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm also not going to buy a bottle of THC infused alcohol-free Chardonnay.
Right.
Not doing it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Alcohol-free cannabis stuff is an interesting collaboration. But the THC percentage in or the milligrams, excuse me, in Canada is only 10. So with the US, or at least in most states in the US, they're allowing 5 to 10 milligram dosage up to 100 milligrams per package, whereas in Canada, it seems like it's going to be a 10 milligram limit. Now that's insane because most people that are currently using cannabis need more than 10 milligrams. I don't know if there's going to be a loophole. In Washington State, I enjoy the loophole of some of the topicals that you can actually drink. So they sell it as a topical, but if you're in the know, you know that you can get that 500 milligram drink as a topical. Determining how you get that loophole, I'm certainly not going to be buying anything with 10 milligrams. That's crazy.
I'm not going to buy anything with 10 milligrams for $50. Guarantee you that.
Yeah. So in addition to beverages, Canada is also expecting edibles. And so number 8 on the list is there's some Canadian marijuana infused edibles, some brands that are trying to become household names up there. So again, that legalization 2.0 with Canadians, there's a selection of new treats. There's chocolates, of course, gummies are super popular, cookies, mints, all of those things that are definitely not healthy, not for the medical patient, being chocolate and sugar and all of that. Still, a lot of these products are hitting the shelves. So at this rate, the product offering of legal cannabis infused edibles in Canada will start to seriously compete with what's available in the legalized states in the US, but not price and not milligrams, unfortunately.
They'll get there. Let's start small and see what it looks like. But the edible market is very popular in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to smell like weed. You don't want weed laying around the house. So edibles are very popular. We'll see what happens in Canada.
Between the hours of 3 and 5 on Friday, a third of all edible sales occur during that period. So you definitely want to make sure that if you have products that they're delivered, and if you have a retail shop, definitely want to make sure that your inventory is on the shelves and not in a back room on Fridays between the hours of 3 and 5. You're seeing about $30 on average per person at the cash register. One At least 50% of those items are a pre-roll. And so yeah, all those stats, all of that data is available to look at. And so obviously with these new products, Canada is going to be figuring that out pretty quick. So number 7, an analyst is warning of shelved expansion, restructuring, and teeter on the edge for some cannabis firms. The number of Canadian cannabis producers with fewer than 6 months of cash on hand has increased over the past quarter, reflecting disappointing earnings and front-loaded capital expenditures, according to an analyst. Well, this analyst must have a crystal ball, because we've been predicting that basically all year about the consolidation. On the growth side, you're going to have co-ops. I don't know what the retail stores are going to do, because in the States, they tend to have limits. I think there's 6 in Washington per store owner. You can only have 6 locations. I don't know how they're going to merge, or work together. But without capital, without expanding, you're already seeing sale leaseback options, which we'll get to. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening.
We've been talking about this. This is not news.
No. And so just jumping right into the next point, which is an extension of this one. Number 6 on the list is marijuana businesses raise millions of dollars by cashing out of real estate. So they're using sale leaseback options to raise capital. So in the US, there hasn't been a lot of companies that go out and buy their storefronts. They're renting that, which makes it very, very difficult and very expensive. And now we're just kind of seeing a retrenchment, kind of taking some steps back. I'm not a fan of this. We've seen this in other instances, like Greece got into the EU by Goldman Sachs buying their debt. So this isn't anything new to the cannabis industry or any industry. Governments, countries, companies, they all use this technique in times of difficulty. I just think that maybe a lot of these companies didn't really think this through on return on assets. Leveraging your money by renting now, I think probably should have been implemented from the get-go instead of this whole fiasco.
This is interesting in that the banking regulations, again, we see it over and over again, hindering the growth of the industry without access to traditional capital. It's a risky play. Hopefully it works out for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. So if you don't know what a sale leaseback option is, it's when large cannabis companies are selling their own cultivation, processing, and storage facilities, and then immediately leasing them back as a way to instantly raise tens of millions of dollars when outside financing is scarce. Unlocking the value of real estate with the sale provides money that can be used to grow the cannabis core business without diluting the value of the stock. So that's why you're seeing a lot more companies do that. Number 5 on the list, Nova Scotia is nearly out of edibles and other Cannabis 2.0 products. So with the early debut of edibles in Nova Scotia, they're launching across dozens of stores. They had to wait until this week. So the Maritime province was rewarded for its passion for cannabis. Some stores were completely out of edibles by the end of the first day, while the entire province was almost out of edibles just right after Christmas. Again, nothing abnormal here. Very limited supplies with initial rollouts is something we've seen in every single regulated market.
Absolutely. This is not news.
No, I think volatility and the lack of being able to have business as usual is normal. California is running that right now. Number 4 on the list is the governor's proposing changes to the very new, very recent regulations and already making changes. And so, just get used to that. So their governor has unveiled an annual budget to propose changing their regulatory system. They have 3 regulators, which, you know, is already a little bit hectic with one. Throwing 3 in there is ridiculous. So they're going to narrow that down to 1 regulator. Congratulations. And they're going to try to revise their tax to go and follow more of a Washington state model where it's taxed at the retail instead of more of like a weird value added tax at the producer processor, and then estimate what the sales is going to be. That's crazy. So just tax the end retailer, be a little bit more normal, and hopefully they'll figure that out.
I hope so. California really, really messed up cannabis legalization. Uh, Washington is not perfect. In fact, Washington is revamping their own legislation, but California is a perfect example of how not to do it.
Mm-hmm. Number 3 on the list is Congress is going to debate 2 bills to legalize marijuana with DEA witness next week. So the House Energy and Commerce Committee hearing on various reform proposals is set for this week. They met on Wednesday. Congressional committee debates 2 bills to federally legalize marijuana. It's actually to deschedule it is what they were talking about. So it's the MORE Act, which hasn't really gained a lot of traction. The fact that they're debating it makes the news. It actually going somewhere and gaining traction is not the news. The fact that they're even willing to discuss it, I think, is incredibly forward thinking on the part of the government, which, you know, they should have been talking about this like 40 years ago. Better late than never, though.
Well, they had hearings on descheduling cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act last summer, and it didn't pass. I don't know what has changed in 6 months. Public opinion studies, I have no idea, but the fact that they keep putting it up for a vote and it's not passing. So I don't know. I don't know what real significance has occurred in the last 6-7 months that's going to push it over the line this time. Fingers crossed, but I don't know what has changed in 6 months.
Right. Yeah. Politically, it's progressive, but in reality, it's not really going to go anywhere, in my opinion, unless there's a financial reason for that. So maybe with Iran, maybe with kind of the Chinese trade deal, maybe they feel like they need an alternative to generate tax revenue. So they're willing to talk about it now, since the majority of analysts think we're going to hit a recession in 2020, second quarter sometime. So around June. I have no idea why they're doing it, but the fact that they're talking about it is significant. New York is talking about it, and I think they've been talking about it for a while, but Andrew Cuomo promises to legalize cannabis in New York. So you're a New York native. I don't know what that's going to do to your hometown other than create some volatility and some changes constantly and headaches and everything else. But they weren't able to legalize last year, so Andrew Cuomo vows that this time around it's going to happen. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
All right.
Medical cannabis is already available. Again, put your toe in the water. Babies didn't die. Life isn't upended. Next step, recreational legalization.
Mm-hmm.
And they border so many states that already have it. I think at this point, they're just having some FOMO on the tax income.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it'll go through.
Yeah, I think they're looking at Illinois for sure with that tax FOMO. The first week of adult use sales in Illinois totaled $11 million, and that's our number 1 story of the week. Some marijuana shops had to close due to high demand and product shortages. Illinois had approximately a week to sell recreational medical marijuana since it began allowing it January 1st. Demand was proven so extreme that despite enjoying the $11 million in sales, some retailers had to cut off customers temporarily to conserve inventory. I don't know what that means. They either sell out or they don't, but $2 million a day is not bad. I think Colorado's doing better than that, but they've also been doing it for a lot longer.
We've seen this in every single state that legalizes. Out the door, there's a rush. Folks line up, folks overpay, they run out of stock, they run out of the traditional items that people are looking for. But in the end, the market regulates itself and it'll calm down. Conserving inventory, I don't know if that's the best plan. If you can sell cannabis for $250 a gram just because there's a shortage of it, I think the best business play there is to sell it for $250 a gram, uh, and then say, okay, we don't have any more. See you next week. But again, we've seen this in every market that legalizes. There's a rush, and then it'll calm down.
Mm-hmm. They'll figure it out.
Yep.
All right, with that, we're going to roll this one up. I want to thank my guest, Katrina Glogowski. She's an attorney, angel investor. Thanks again.
Thanks, Josh.
I am Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.